Holy League of Pauses. This is Flight Check, Season 4, Episode 2. We're back, once again, talking all aspects of FlyQuest, from LCS to the new Fly Red roster to a perhaps surprising 2-0 start for the NACL team. My name, as always, is Sandy Toes, and to my left and my extra left are my fellow hosts, Nox War and Curly Double Q. Nox dealing with some tech issues once again. Still trying to figure out that webcam. If anyone wants to donate a fat stack for him to just get a new laptop and solve all the problems, then I don't think any of us would really complain.
If someone just wants to win the lottery for me, that'd be great.
If you want to drop that, like, 100 gifted, nobody's gonna say no. So just letting you know that.
Turn us into an LLC.
Yeah, so we'll figure out what's going on, and we'll get him back live for us real soon. But luckily, his voice is here, Nox. Just your voice again this week. But talk to us. How are you feeling after this first week of LCS and NACL? I feel like the vibe has to be good.
I mean, for what it's worth, if I really, really wanted, I could change the video really fast and pop up on stream just like this. I said just like this. There we go. Hello.
Hello.
I can do that,
And
but
now
then eventually it'll just freeze again.
Right.
So, and then I got to sit here and hold a pose, and then it's just awkward.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what do you want me to do?
Yeah, and he doesn't know when it's gonna freeze either. So,
No,
you don't know what face I'm gonna get.
now-
It could happen at any time.
That's the face
Oh, yeah,
that you
so
have.
there you go.
So that's perfect. So he could just kind
So
of
this is
flip-flop between
Nox's
cameras.
live reaction of how
Yeah.
he feels about starting out 2-0.
Exactly.
He's bummed.
Yeah. This face right here, very representative of how I feel about this 2-0 this week. Very high energy in my face, as you can tell. Look how light it is. It shows how much energy I have. There's a lot to draw away from this picture, if you will. And I don't want to reveal everything about this great work of art that you see on your screen. But it should really show how awesome it was that Fly went 2-0 this week.
Well, what you guys can't see is over his left shoulder, there is a printer and a plant. I think it's a plant back there.
It looks like a plant.
Looks like a plant to me.
There's just a tiny little plant on the back corner.
So it's not just a blank white wall. There is some decor back there. Oh, you can't see the printer in the cutout.
I'm just switching it around a little bit.
Yeah.
Right.
We're having some fun with the tech issues.
He's trying to stay live. We're gonna call this like multi-camera angle.
Dude.
Yeah, you know what? We're gonna freeze it right here. We're gonna freeze it right on the printer.
Yeah, Nox printer is gonna be the show tonight.
And of course, this is the longest it's lasted since we started the video call.
Exactly.
There we go. I'm a froze. There we go.
We are frozen. All right, Curly, talk to me about Bwipo. He's here. He's FlyQuest top laner. He's kicking ass. He's proxying waves as Olaf. Man, I got a kick out of that one. What was the best?
I don't think he did anything but proxy.
Yeah, I know.
This whole weekend.
What was the best part for you from FlyQuest this weekend?
I mean, I think it's the fact that no matter what happened, by the second we crossed like 25 minutes, we decided we were going to win the game even if we weren't, and just kept making like plays to make it happen.
Yeah.
And then of course the fact that Bwipo was just able to clap 2 Aatroxes in a row by doing the same thing with different champions. And just being unkillable, like literally unkillable. Like, he patiently waited, he built his things, and then you couldn't take care of him, and he was a problem. And you really should just ban Udyr and Olaf until we get to a new patch with the new meta, because Bwipo will just
or don't ban them and let him keep playing those champs. I mean,
or let him keep playing those champs. But like I'm saying, if you want to win against FlyQuest, you probably shouldn't let him have them.
Well, we're not really in the business of telling other teams how to beat FlyQuest.
Hopefully they don't like look in this corner of the internet, so we're fine.
Somehow I actually find it very doubtful that they are that any like TL or NRG analysts are watching the show right at this exact second. So a good week all around. NACL, also a really strong start. We'll talk about that later tonight as well. And other big news just dropped today. FlyQuest Red with a almost completely brand new Valorant roster. Very exciting as Game Changers season is starting to rev up once again. So that is really cool to see. We will discuss
also
that.
A beautiful new jersey.
Yeah, the red variant of the jersey. I'll try to get a picture of that on stream so we can take a look at that. The jersey dropped in the last week.
I think I actually prefer the red one over the green one.
Yeah, well that'll be a good discussion later on. So a lot to talk about tonight. And a quick reminder that if you unfortunately have to dip out and you can't catch all of the show, the VOD will be available here and on YouTube on our channel, Flight Check Podcast, and we'll get that audio version on your favorite listening platforms as well. I still need Curly's audio from last week, though. So
I don't know what you're talking about.
Technically, actually, he's in the chat, so I'm going to call him out too. I still need Andy Barton's audio from last week as well. So if he's still here and he wants to send it to my email address, I'd happily take that anytime, so I can get that.
This man just asking for audio in live right now.
So and he says, "Oh, I forgot. Let me do that." Thank you, Andy. I appreciate you very much. And we all here in the FlyQuest fandom appreciate what you have helped to do and bring us to a 2-0 start. So let's talk about week 1. Saturday matchup, Shopify Rebellion. Knox, we're bringing in the camera because he's so excited to talk about Shopify. But except this time now he's muted, so the camera's working, but he's muted, so I don't know what he just said.
Okay, we'll try one more time. There we go. Let me freeze it right
that was
here.
Good. That was good.
That's actually a good one. I like the number 1 because he's pointing
out
that we are the number 1 team in LCS and NACL.
Tied only with C9.
Knox, talk to me about Shopify, the matchup with them. So this draft, we go with the scaling route, and I have to admit, getting into that 20 to 25 minute range, I was starting to get a little worried. Shopify was not playing too terribly, and I knew that we had the scaling in our back pocket, but I was a little concerned that at any moment Shopify could collapse and do some serious damage and take us out before we could get going. What did you like from this matchup? How did you feel about the draft, the play? What was kind of the big positives for you?
I think honestly the big thing is the Zach pick. I'm trying to pull up the actual draft order really fast. Yeah. Let me do that just so that way I'm not talking out of my butt. But basically, like, they picked the Zach early on, right? And like we still hadn't picked Inspired's jungler yet, which just allowed us to have a nice, easy counter pick. Like like that Poppy makes it absolute hell for that Zach to thrive in any environment, right? So okay, I found the draft order, in which case. So they picked the Zach on R3, and which case, wow, oh, yeah. So they saved it as far as they could up until top lane, right? Which case they saved it for Fake God's Aatrox versus Bwipo's Udyr. I guess that makes sense, right? You want to try and get something that's able to kind of like, hey, get you on something comfortable so you can handle Bwipo and whatever he picks, right? So I get where they're coming from in that aspect, but I feel like something with Zach is something that you really just that's gotta be a final pick, right? It's not meta enough. It's not strong enough to warrant getting picked outside of R5. And so because of that, FlyQuest got to punish that with the Poppy. And I think that was honestly the best part about drafting for me. I will say, as a fan of Massu, it was a little disappointing to see him put on Senna the very first game, even though it's kind of what the meta is right now. I'm very much used to seeing him on these more hyper carry-esque picks, the Kaisas, the Zayas, you name it, right? A lot of high mobility, a lot of ability to show outplays, etc. So seeing him on the Senna was a little bit disappointing, even though honestly, in some ways also it's smart because it's just like, hey, you don't have to CS, pick up your souls, scale up, get strong, just put out the damage later on, right? It's a good way to integrate you into your first LCS game. So overall, nothing really flashy. I think the draft is actually pretty smart. It handles, it builds into FlyQuest's comfort as well as is just extremely nice counter into Insanity Zach, right? So I think that's kind of my general thoughts on draft. The game itself, I mean, you don't have a lot of agency early on, right? I mean, you have Udyr, Senna, Seraphine. Like, it's a lot of just let me run at you, right? Everything else on Shopify's side is wanting to engage, and it's just pure disengage from Fly. So in the early game, yeah, I'm not surprised we really didn't get a lead. Were there mistakes still? Yes, obviously, but it literally just turned out exactly what I expected it to be. And by the time it turned like 25 minutes, or I think it was like around 22-minute mark, is when things really started to turn again. Because I think Fly was down like 6-10 in kills, and that's when the kills stopped for Shopify, and it just went on there for FlyQuest, right? So, no, I don't think it was at any point I was extremely worried. I just knew we would eventually scale, and that's exactly what ended up happening. Still things to clean up overall, but for a first game into the LCS, I was content with it. And sorry, I kind of rambled there.
No, you're good. Yeah, we had the scaling in our back pocket, and that was always good. Curly, yeah, definitely, Nox alluded to it a little bit, but really like a standard, like comfort, well, I don't want to say comfort right away, but definitely a standard type of draft. Nothing too crazy here. You know, Orianna, the Zac gets picked into it. The Zac was definitely the wild card in this matchup.
Yeah.
How do you think? I do want to ask you about Bwipo, but I wanted to ask you more generally first about the top side before narrowing in on him. Inspired looked really good to me. I thought he did well. Bwipo did really well, and I thought Jensen held his own very well against this weird Zac pick. Definitely like it like throws you off early because he rushed Magic Resist, as I recall. And difficult to do any meaningful damage to him early on before the scaling. But then he's dishing out a ton of damage himself. And the Zac was a big problem, even though Jensen did get or Inspired got the first blood on the mid lane gank along with Jensen. But even with that, the Zac was still dishing out a lot of damage, was a big problem for Bwipo at times, and was a problem for Jensen. So I want to get your take on how the top side handled things and how this Zac pick kind of threw things off a little bit.
I mean, the big thing is actually, so like, I know I'm a Bwipo fanboy and I could probably find anything to praise about it, but like Jensen is kind of my like player of the week, but like particularly this game, he did really well because he single-handedly made that first blood actually happen. The only reason it got secured by Inspired is because he happened, like there was good communication, I'm sure, or just really lucky timing. And he was able to get to the mid lane and finish off that Zac passive just to make sure that first blood was secured. And then even Jensen, like when he first died after that, he was able to like play the micro so well that he forced out Insanity's flash and made it a 1-for-1, even though it should have, like the way it was looking at the start, it should have just been a clean, easy kill from Insanity. So despite how problematic the Zac was for a while, Jensen made a lot of really good plays in spacing and like showed how talented he is on the Orianna, and he has the highest KP. Like he was in 12 out of the 13 takedowns. So like he's honestly, for me, the one that quietly carried this game. And then Inspired, of course, was just really good at like roaming the map. Our vision was good at like knowing they like to be in our red jungle a lot, so we were Inspired was always in their red jungle taking it back. And then the decision to prio the Void Grubs over the Drakes played really heavily into our favor later when we were able to get Baron, because like mid lane was just demolished, like in like I want to say not even 2 minutes, because of how easy it was to just shred the turrets with the Void Grubs and the Baron buff. So like, yeah, like I talked earlier about Bwipo and this Udyr and how he slowly became unkillable, and like sure, that was great, but Inspired and Jensen are the reason we were able to pull it back from what was going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. My receipts are not looking good right now, guys.
Yeah,
they're looking pretty doomed.
Gonna be eating some crow. Yeah, Knox. You said in your pre-show notes. Hang on, I want to pull it up to quote it exactly. Where was it? Inspired still looks insane. Bwipo was Bwipo. Elaborate for me on what Bwipo was Bwipo means to you.
Bwipo just adds this level of I almost want to say it's like kind of G2 factor, right? You know how like teams in the LEC like will always like they can get leads against G2 and they can start to push against them, but there's always that factor of like you make one wrong mistake, you're going to get punished for it. Bwipo like has that kind of almost individual like feeling to him where it's like if you make one mistake against him, he will punish you, right? And so I want to say like that in the Uter game specifically, he was starting to split push. He was starting to be a menace in side lanes, and he was just being a general pain in the butt for like Wild Turtle and Zazel in the backline, right? Like he's like, I will run you down. Like you better be able to like space me out, right? Mm-hmm. And so that's kind of what I mean by like Bwipo was Bwipo, right? Like he didn't like necessarily have the best game ever, but he always had this factor of like, I will turn it on and you better be able to like handle it. So that's kind of what I mean by Bwipo was Bwipo. And frankly, as long as he's able to do that at any point in time, I'm chill with it. I'm good with it. Would I prefer always just looking insane? Yes, but as long as he's got that factor about him, I'm all good with it. Yeah. That's what you get Bwipo for, right?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, and I know a lot of the discussion was Bwipo inspired, and Jensen definitely showed up this week. But there is one guy who I want to highlight, I think, that did really well, and I think it was very subtle, and I didn't see a lot of mistakes from him, but it's Busio. I was very impressed with what I saw this week from Busio. Very clean play. I mean, 1-2-9 in game 1, 0-1-10 in game 2. So, he's not he didn't have like a ton of crazy engages. I mean, he plays the Seraphine and the Ashe. So these are not champions that, he's not playing an Alistair. He's not jumping in, WQing, flash queuing, things like that. He's not.
He landed some nice arrows, which is what mattered.
But he did land some nice arrows. He used his vision constantly. He provided a lot of really good poke in that second game, and also did a lot of good poke with the Seraphine as well. He had a couple really good ultimates on the Seraphine that really were clutch at times. And so this is a guy that I'm looking at. I'm saying like, he laned with double lift last season. And, again, a guy who was the most valuable prospect coming out of NACL in 2022, paired with the most valuable prospect from NACL 2023. And I think collectively they are showing why that is the case. Inspired in his interview after the Shopify Rebellion match, did talk about Massu a little bit, and it was notable to me that he talks about how Massu is very aggressive, and basically says that there's a lot of rawness to him, and like maybe some of the decision making isn't all there, but that Inspired likes the aggressiveness, even likening him to a Han Sama type of player, which is very exciting for me to hear from someone like Inspired, comparing him to, shades of Han Sama for Massu. So, Nox, I want to ask you first, and then Curly, your thoughts on the bot lane, in particular Busio. I didn't think Massu was super splashy this weekend. We didn't need him to be. I mean, the Senna and the Jhin, they're not going to be crazy, hyper carries. I thought Massu's Jhin ultimates were very well done. He had some really good ones. But Busio was kind of the standout for me in this bot lane.
Yeah, I definitely, at least for this week, I'm going to give more props to Busio than I would Massu. I may be nitpicking just because I'm super invested in Massu and I've been following him forever, right? But I noticed like lots of like easy skill shots, like not even like someone from Shopify or Immortals like making a juke or anything, just kind of just straight up misses on skill shots that happened throughout both matches. And so for me, like, that's not very characteristic of Massu, and I kind of expect better from him because I know he can hit that stuff. And I'm kind of just chalking it up to stage nerves for the first week. It's his first time on stage in front of an actual audience, so on and so forth. So for me, I'm not too worried about it, but I do expect him to step it up a little bit. But yeah, to your point, Sandy, Busio just was a nice, quiet weekend, but like a solid weekend, like exactly what kind of like old school supports used to do. Just like you don't really notice that they're there, but they're quietly doing their job, and they're kind of the reason why the team's doing well. And so I thought Busio did a fantastic job of that, and I'm looking forward to seeing if he can just hold that standard. And you just want to let eventually when Massu grows into himself a little bit, and you just like let the other guys take care of their things, and he's just there getting the vision down and just supporting his guys and not necessarily always having to make plays, although he can do that. You saw his arrows. As long as he's just there backing up the squad, I think Busio is on track to be just one of the top tier supports of the league right now because he's just going to do what he needs to do to have success, right? So, no, big props to Busio. I was very happy from everything I did see. I'm sure there's probably like more advanced like people who actually understand how to play the game and look at the game, like laning and so on and so forth. I'm sure there's stuff that he can work on, but at least from my gold level eyes, like he looked good. I'm happy with how he did. He was great.
Yeah. Curly, your thoughts?
Yeah. I'd say game one against Shopify Rebellion, just kind of, it ended up being a bit unfortunate for them because it was very bot centric for like those first 15 minutes. And unfortunately, they were the one to like slip up first. And so lost some momentum there, but not as much as they could have because Wild Turtle, also the much more veteran, like ADC, and is on a flashier champion in the form of Lucian. Like he's just able to, use that culling, wait 45 seconds. If you haven't gone back, he'll finish you off. So like ultimately with what they were given, they still did a really good job. And I definitely agree. There's a chance that maybe the nerves of actually being on stage the first time I had gotten to him, but also Senna and Jhin in the current meta, I don't think are going to be the flashiest. That's not your big playmakers. Like you can get some really good, like, fourth shots off, and that's fun to watch, but that's kind of about it. But Busio, you are right. He died very minimally when it came to the laning phase. Like he only pushed up when he needed to. And like he was unloading those arrows and even like able to 1v1 when he was playing the Ashe. Like the benefits of playing a support that's technically an ADC is sometimes you can be alone and you can just shove out Ale under turret because you just auto him and keep autoing him and keep autoing him. So yeah, no, like I'd like to see what this bot lane looks like on more carry and engage type meta. Like if we shift towards that, like I would love to see a Leona or Nautilus or even Pyke gameplay from Busio, one of those champs that like you really go in and make things happen. And then something like a Kai'Sa or a Jinx from Massu. I would like to see what those games look like because I think they would be very exciting.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely looking forward to seeing some hyper carries out of Massu in the future. Hey, let's turn our attention to the second game, Immortals. So this felt like a bit more of an aggressive comp to me. You've got the Olaf in the top lane, the Jhin Ashe bottom lane, so you're going to have a lot of poke coming out from there. The Vi for Inspired, so maybe a little bit more agency to get around the map and make plays. I think my favorite play from this game was when Inspired, I forget who it was, but he Vi ultis one of the Immortals players under bot turret and holds them there so that Massu can slam him with the Jhin ulti. That was a great play, and I really enjoyed watching that one. Nox, talk to me about this comp, your thoughts on it. Bwipo on that Olaf, just proxying Castle's waves all day long, had me rolling. Every time they flashed the camera up there, and Bwipo's just in between tier 1 and tier 2 turrets, slamming the wave. Oh my gosh, I was dying. So funny to see that.
Yeah, It's funny because I would say in general, like, Bwipo did not really add a lot to the game for FlyQuest's sake. but he sure as hell took Castle out of it.
Yes,
right? So,
exactly.
And I guess technically that's all you really need to do. And it's very interesting, right? Because Bwipo talked about this in the post-game interview whenever the game got finished, about how typically when you pick Olaf, you really want to play it as like an early game champion. Like you snowball your lane, or if you're playing it jungle, you snowball the early game, and you just become like a very early monster, and you start to kind of just fall off a little bit in the mid game. He was like, "Nah, man, that's not how I like to play the champ. I want to be able to play it late game. I want to get 3 or 4 items, and I just want to run people over." Which, you know what, fair play. That is a fun way to play that champ, right?
Yeah.
It's not typically how you would see it in most people's like repertoires of playing Olaf, but it works. So no, it was very funny watching him proxy the waves. It was very funny watching Castle just struggle and flounder and trying to find ways to get into the game. But yeah, at least in regards to the rest of the comp, Jhin, Azir, Ashe is extremely annoying. For like Aatrox itself, this whole game was just poor Castle, man. I don't know what do you know what pick the Aatrox was picked on?
Hang on, I can tell you very, very soon.
Because like I'm looking at this and it's just like they did not set Castle up for success by giving him this Aatrox.
So the Aatrox was blue 4, and then Bwipo counterpicks the Olaf into it on red 5.
Okay, but so in that case, then you already had Azir, Jhin, and Ashe all already picked, right?
Yes,
like,
yeah.
If you're like posturing or you're trying to stage yourself for a fight at like Drake or Baron or any of the Grublings, like it's pure misery for the Aatrox. It's such a pain to get in and fight. So I don't know, like Immortals did not do Castle any favors this game. So yeah. I feel kind of bad for the guy, to be honest.
Yeah, the drafting not the best in this case, no.
In regards to that though, it's kind of like a poke game, right? You have Mask on Corki, you have Tactical on Varus, and then you have Ole on the Blitz, which kind of helps with the engage part and does help out Castle a little bit. Like if you can drag someone in, like, okay, yeah, you're going to die, right?
Helps us out more later.
Yeah, it did end up helping us out more later, right? But like that's kind of the theory, right? And so in general, I cut ignoring like really the Olaf is just an odd pick. I think that's just meant to like really just, sorry Castle, you suck. I'm gonna just put you in the ground.
Right.
It doesn't really fit in our comp, if I'm being honest, which makes sense because he didn't really contribute much for FlyQuest. The rest of the comp is just super zone poke. Like you're not getting into our space, and I think it worked magically, right? Like Jensen just made sure that no one could get close. Massu was from far away, just poking people down. Busio was getting like these big old snipes on these Ashe ultimates that was helping set up Inspire to get, or vice versa, right? Like Inspired ulting in and the Ashe arrow would come in, and at that point, whoever they hit is just dead. So I would say in general, it's just a good comp. The only thing I really am questioning that I don't understand is the Olaf, but again, back to my pre-show notes, Bwipo was just Bwipoing, and I'm just going to leave it at that.
There you go. Curly, how about you? Thoughts on some of this stuff? In particular, covered Bwipo a bit already. So talk to me about Jensen and Inspired on the Vi, Jensen on the Azir. Jensen looked really good. Had a lot of good moments where he dealt a lot of damage. There was one particular moment where there's like a Q auto that he does on Tactical and knocks down like 60% of his health.
Yeah, it was nasty.
Yeah, it just some nasty stuff coming out of there. You can see
Jensen
like the power
built up massive damage
of these new items. But yeah, talk to me about like this kind of jungle mid duo for this matchup. So
this one, like honestly, it was the Jensen show for me, which I find ironic because he has a lower KP, but boy did he make sure it was like kills he was getting, not just takedowns. And he just really he set up a lot of damage. He did some really creative ults even later, because there was a team fight, I believe it was sometime in like the 20 to 30 minute range, where it's in the bot river and he just completely locks Immortals into like this corner because of the Emperor's Divide, and it makes the team fight so much like easier. And then Inspired was just, the nice thing about Vi is it's a little bit more mobile than Poppy. So he's able to just be where he needs all the time and consistently apply pressure. And so that's just really a lot of what I saw. But like, I know we've talked about Bwipo a little bit, but just to get back to that, I think like the Olaf being a question mark is like, you're right. It's Bwipo being Bwipo. It's like how he picked Singed at Worlds 2020 and then they won that game. But I think the thing is, the way the map is right now and the way the meta seems to be is you don't want to draft your top laner as part of your comp. You want your top laner to win lane, because one of these teams is going to have 4 players and one of these teams is going to have 5 players. And so this time, like this weekend, FlyQuest had 5 players, and we did not allow Immortals or Shopify to have more than 4 players. And so that's kind of what you need to do, because they took an island and made it even more of an island with those walls, you know?
Yeah.
So that's my thoughts kind of on how this whole game went. And then overall, I just saw a lot of good, bringing it to the bot lane. I saw a lot of good game sense from the bot lane, because I don't know what the comms were at every moment, but I saw them like fluidly move to cut off Armeo early on and like force out a flash when he was trying to be a little cheeky in our jungle, and then just always ready to move at the right time. So really impressed with how our early game was, at least against these 2 teams.
Yeah. Any final thoughts on week 1 from either of your sides before we move on ahead?
You know what? I'm probably going to bite the bullet a little bit here, but I'm going to try and save my receipts a little bit.
Okay.
So, and I mean just a little bit. I do want to preface that FlyQuest did play the 2 teams that are 0-2 this week. And probably, I mean, not that Insanity is a bad mid laner. In fact, I would say he's a good mid laner. He did play something that was a little more off meta and not normal per se. And then Mask, I'm not huge on, and I don't think a lot of other people are huge on, and would in general probably have ranked lower in terms of the mid laners currently in the LCS. So having said that, and we can talk about this a little more if we want to go in more in depth, but like having said that, I want to continue to see Jensen be able to put out the performances that he put out this week. Okay. I think he had a little bit of easier time considering his matchups and the teams that he was playing. And that's good. He showed a great job. He did a good job showing like his level of performance, but I need to continue to see it. Once he shows me multiple weeks of this, all right, we can ride into playoffs and I'll be content, but I'm not sold yet. Yeah. And I'm just going to leave it at that.
Hey, fair enough. You have your takes. Curly, any final thoughts on week 1?
I'd say the good thing is I'm glad that we solidified that we are better than Shopify Rebellions and Immortals, because it would be, like, to be a bit harsh, it'd be rough if we lost to either of these teams in my eyes, because we've got better players across the board to me. I'd say maybe the only potential matchup issue would be Massu versus Wild Turtle, because Wild Turtle's been around. He's got a lot of experience, and so that experience like showed a little bit on Saturday. But I'm glad we started out strong, and I hope we're able to keep that up. And I mean, I joked on Twitter about needing to be brainwashed on Jensen, and yes, these are 2 weaker teams that we should have won. But like, I don't think I need to be brainwashed on Jensen. So far, I'm very happy, and I want to see more.
Yeah, no, I think it was a very solid week all around, and I'm excited to see what comes next. All right, we are going to take a quick little trip around the league. Let's kind of check in on what's going on, some of the bigger storylines from LCS week 1. Quick rundown in the standings. Cloud9 and FlyQuest, the only 2 teams to escape with 2-0 weeks. Immortals and Shopify Rebellion, as mentioned, both 0-2. And then everyone else sitting in that 1-1. Big surprise for me. Then I'm going to say my big surprise and why I want you guys to think about your big surprises of the week. But I'm going to steal a really easy one straight off the bat. 100 Thieves taking down Team Liquid in the first game of the year. This was a shock to me. Ruined my pick'ems. I went 7 for 8, and this was the one game that I did not get. Honestly, at the end of the day, it's like hats off to them. I will note, I did power rank 100 Thieves at number 5. And I did have them in the C tier, above the D tiers of Dig, Immortals, and Shopify Rebellion. So, is that justified? Remains to be seen. But this was the biggest surprise to me of the week, was 100 Thieves taking them down. Obviously, TL bounces back. And then 100 Thieves, then they get clapped by C9 the next day. So, I'm still not really sure what 100 Thieves' power level is, because I'm just assuming Cloud9's going to beat up on everyone. So I'm very interested to see where 100 Thieves goes from here. I think they have an interesting squad. And Quid was actually better than I thought he was going to be. So there is that. So that's my big surprise from around the league. Knox or Curly, one of you, take it away with yours, please.
Oh goodness.
Go for it, Curly. I'm still thinking.
If I'm gonna be honest, the only real surprise this weekend was that everything else went about as it was expected. Because to me, the only potential flip flop of a match this entire weekend would have been Dignitas versus Immortals, because it's the case where I feel we all kind of feel like the bottom half of the league is fairly interchangeable. And you just throw a dart and you put it out there. So I don't think I'm actually surprised all too much from what happened this weekend, aside from the 100 Thieves win. Now, I guess the only other match I did get wrong was Immortals versus Dignitas. I was really hoping that they would win that. Just wasn't in the cards, it seems. So I don't know. Let's look at Mask's KDA over the weekend. Mask died 10 times over this weekend, and he didn't get a single kill in his first game, but he did get 8 assists, which means he had 100% KP. So he was there for every kill. Yeah, I don't know. I guess I don't know.
Knox, do you have anything for us here? Or did I just take the easy one? You might be muted, Knox. I can't tell because I can't see you.
There we go. I hit the button. I would say yes, you did take the easy one, by the way. I'll say, and this is probably more due to me being out of the loop on terms of like champion picks and like champions queue and so on and so forth, and it's like kind of like inside scrim leaks and whatnot. But I did not see, at least especially in regards to our fantasy league, I did not see the Udyr top priority coming in as hot as it did.
No, that's true. That came out of left field.
So yeah, for me, like I knew it had been getting play, but like how many times was it played this week? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 out of 8 games. Like that was way more play time than I was expecting it to get. Right.
Yeah.
So and that's not even. Were there bans on it?
There were bans. It was banned in our match against Immortals. It was banned in NRG Dig, and it was banned in So at 100% presence.
Yeah, there was 100% presence this weekend, which is insane.
Yeah.
So for me, I was extremely surprised, and I was like, well, damn, why did I not pick or ban this champion in my fantasy league? I'm going to go with Udyr top.
Were you guys at all surprised, like, frankly, like, just looking at the picks and bans, or the picks, at least, from this week, it looks very similar to some of the comps that we had at the end of last season, right? The only, like, new-ish champ was the Milio that Huhi played versus Cloud9. Otherwise, it's all just like standard stuff that has been in pro play for the last few seasons. Like no Briar. Was Smolder available for them to play this week? I think so.
No.
Oh, no Smolder.
No, Smolder's not available yet.
Okay, yeah, Smolder's not available yet. I guess there was a second Milio. Isles played him So, but just like not a lot of presence of like anything new. It just felt like a lot of standard.
You know what else surprises me?
Back through.
How inevitable Corky Azir seems to freaking be. How do we always get back to this?
Death, taxes, and Corky versus Azir.
Why does it happen? Why does it always happen?
Every
How
year.
do we get here?
How do we get here? Final thing I want to ask about from this week. The broadcast, very streamlined, except for the amount of pauses. So let's ignore the pauses. Pauses aside, how did you guys feel about the quick turnaround from game to interview to break to game again, and you're straight into draft? No analyst desk or analyst couch, right? You basically get the 30 minutes of waiting room and then maybe some stuff afterwards. No segments, quick interview, and then let's break and you're straight into draft. Definitely does feel like things were just moving a lot faster. And I don't... It was interesting. I was like, I don't know if I am missing the desk or not. I wasn't sure. I think I need more time. How do you guys feel about it?
I'd say in terms of like how it literally felt to watch, huge fan of the fluidity. Like that, I would say this was the easiest to consume broadcast of League of Legends I have ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
Like even with the pauses, because like I was occupied during the pauses, or I was like, all right, I'll take this time to do something else. And then the second I heard something else was going on, like if I was still home, I'd get right back to watching the game, you know?
Right.
And so in terms of transitioning stuff, really smooth. I would say like I would have let I want them to find a way to sneak the desk in a little bit more, because I feel like having the whole day without the analyst desk is missing out on some more abstract, I guess, analysis of the games, you know, like just at least wrap it up with a bow tie before we get to the next one. And even if it's only like maybe like a halfway point where we do like a midstream break for that, I think it would be good. And then I'd also say like if you're doing the interviews during the timer transition, you might as well I'd change the format of the graphic to make the interview at the very least bigger, or get rid of the timer, because then you don't need the timer there. But it does also feel weird to do it during that's probably when they run their ads on Twitch and YouTube. So if you're not watching through lolesports.com, which also you should always be, if you're not doing that, I don't know what you're doing. But if you're not watching, you're going to be subject to those ads and you're going to miss out on good quotes, you know?
Right.
And all that stuff.
Yeah. Knox,
but still, a lot more streamlined.
Definitely. Knox, what do you think?
Again, I think I'm starting to feel like my theme for this year is going to be boomer takes from Knox War. So I kind of miss the analyst desk, and I kind of miss the longer-ish breaks between games. And let me explain why. A lot of the times when the games were happening and a game would end, you typically like break time between the ending of that game and the next game was somewhere in the range of like 17 to like 25 minutes, depending on like how much they wanted to break down, who they were interviewing, break time itself, et cetera, right? And so for me, I would typically use those times to be doing chores, either running a quick ARAM match, getting like little workouts in here and there, or even just like hanging out and talking with my wife, like whatever it may be. Like I always had something to fill those time frames. And even then, a lot of the times when I'm doing those other things, I would have the analyst desk going on in the background so I could still listen to the information that's being provided. And it really helped me kind of like get a better tab on like what happened in the game and get a better understanding and the fluidity of what was being done and why this was being done. And it kind of helped my overall game knowledge, right? And so coming into this weekend where things are a little bit faster and it's a little more streamlined, I will say it was more enjoyable to be able to go from match to match in under about like 7 to 8 minutes. Like that did feel good. At least for my personal life, though, I was like, oh, well, I don't have time to do this because I wanted to go wash the dishes. I needed to go move laundry, and I'd get like one thing done, and it's like, okay, well, now I got to watch the next game, right? And so, yeah, this is your boomer Knox take for the week. I kind of missed the longer times because I could do all my chores.
Yeah, that's summing it up like that definitely sounds like a boomer take, but I do hear what you're saying. I also like, it's kind of like like a break between a quarter or halftime in a football game. It's like, hey, that's my chance to stand up, go to the bathroom, do some things I got to do, yada yada. I think I've always, whenever I've been watching live, I'm usually doing something else at the same time the games are going on. Whether it's like it's on and I'm kind of like reading and paying attention to it in the background, or I'm like doing a chore and it's like on, and then like I hear a team fight happening and I run up and find out what's happening.
I'd be curious to see, like, if Riot did a poll, like, while you are watching the LCS, are you like actually dedicating 100% of your attention to the LCS and seeing what's going on, or are you like kind of reading a book?
The answer is absolutely not.
You think the majority of people, casual watchers, the answer is no, that they're not giving 100% attention to what's happening.
When I was last night, I didn't watch any of the matches live. So I watched the non-FlyQuest matches on 1.75 speed while I was really watching the Kansas City Chiefs Buffalo Bills game. So like
as you do.
So like, was I paying attention? Yes. Do I know how the games basically went? Yeah. Do I know like the exact details of all those games? No, and there was no need to. But I still felt like I can keep up with everything that's going on.
And that's fair. It was just it's kind of
TL smashed in their game. It was over.
I feel like the average viewer of the LCS actually does
play League.
Plays League while it's on.
Yeah, no,
and then when they're gray screen, they look over like, oh my god, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Click, click, click.
I remember back in college. This is a tangent. Back in college, we would watch.
Back in my day.
This is literally 9-10 years ago now. Folks would watch LCS, and then we'd hop into an ARAM in between games. Because the analyst desk used to take like a solid 20 to 25 minutes. You could get an ARAM in and like be wrapping up, and they'd be wrapping up draft or like starting the game.
And it was like perfect timing.
And it was perfect timing.
And that's why I loved ARAMs between games too.
Yeah.
That, like, for me, that was like kind of my pastime.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's enough looking back to the past. The future is now, old men. And it's time
it's just me. I'm just the old man.
And it's time for our week 2 preview. Curly has graciously put together and now, Knox, your picture, you can see the peace sign you're holding up, so it does look like now you're saying 2.
Nice. Well, hey, it's the second overlay, so that's how we're keeping track of the show.
Yes, exactly. Perfect. So here we go. I'm about to reveal the predictions. Boom. There they are. I am the outlier this week.
And he should not be counted.
This is the way it is. I've got Team Liquid.
And I was going to say, it's funny because you would figure it would be the other way around. So I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this.
When you say the other way around, do you mean NRG?
You would figure it would be NRG getting the dub over Team Liquid, but so I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this.
Yeah, so let's get right into it. Let's talk NRG first because we're all convinced of that win. Curly, I want to hear from you. What gives you confidence in taking down NRG this weekend?
I think the big thing is Inspired is really just like he's shown really had a really good showing over the course of this weekend. And again, we do need to keep in mind these are teams we should have beaten, but that's not like you need to give him still credit. The fact that he was where he needed to be, he was engaging. We gave him the perfect champ for like what he needed to do both games. Whereas I didn't quite see that from Contracts this weekend. He didn't feel as on top of things as he was to me last season. And so which I hate to say because Contracts is probably my second favorite player on that team after Palafox. But like I just see Contracts being a bit more slow to start, so I think it would likely end up being a jungle diff, and then like who's gonna win, Big Dokes or Wide Bwipo? I'm gonna say Wide Bwipo all day, every day. And then actually on Palafox, like he also didn't quite seem as on as I've seen him in the past, whereas Jensen, we've been talking about him the whole show. So I really think our top half is going to like just be what carries us through this game once again. Um, I'm definitely curious though to see how Massu and Busio pair up against the reunited FBI Huhi, because I think FBI Huhi, once they get cooking, is actually one of the best bot duos in the league.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, but I just think our top half is gonna be much stronger and more consistent.
Sure. Knox, how about you? Your thoughts on NRG?
So Palafox had an interview that was released earlier to Travis Gafford, and in it he talks about the differences between what it's like having Ignar on the team versus having Huhi on the team. And he mentions that as a bot lane duo, the bot lane has become a lot more stable now in a sense because like FBI is just like he knows Huhi, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so like that's a good strong point. But he says something else that comes along the line with Huhi is Huhi brings along in his like post-match discussions a lot more like stability in terms of macro sense, and he said the team is struggling a little bit in the at least for the time being to get used to a lot of the macro discussions that he's wanted to bring forward to the discussion table. And so that was part of the reason why against Cloud9 and even a little bit versus Dignitas, they were really kind of struggling to like decide where they want to move on the map and what parts of the map they want to pressure, so on and so forth. And so it's for that reason alone right now that I feel like they're still kind of figuring out how to gel as a team with Huhi. And with the Bwipo factor that I was referring to earlier and how his ability to split push and push certain side lanes at any time, I really think that FlyQuest has the capability of like really messing up NRG's macro sense. And that's going to result in mistakes from them. And I think Inspired and Bwipo, and as long as Jensen continues to perform, those three can punish that, right? And that's going to what ends up being a win in FlyQuest's favor. So that's kind of what I'm looking for here. Is I think if NRG figures out their macro, I think they'll be okay, and they could actually probably take this win over Fly. But I'm expecting that they don't have it figured out yet, and that's why FlyQuest will end up taking this win.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, I feel personally, I was not super impressed by NRG this past weekend. It did not look as cohesive as we saw them at the end of last season. And I just feel that we have some significant advantages in the top end jungle that I think will just prove to be overwhelming for them. So I am still looking forward to this match. I do feel like it could go the other way. I kind of have this in like the 60-40 realm with 60% being us. That's kind of where I'm leaning, but I do think this should be a win for us. On the other hand, versus Team Liquid, I feel like they should have won the game against 100 Thieves, in my opinion. I don't want to say they threw that, but that should have been a win for them. They were never like 100 Thieves did not dominate them from start to finish. It was a relatively close match. They should have been able to win that. And then they go ahead and play Shopify Rebellion the next day, and they kind of clean up, and like in a good way. Like this was not a close game whatsoever. APA looked really good on the Azir. Jan looked good. Looked good. I think APA is a little more unlocked this year now that he is not the only English speaker on the team. Impact, are fluent. Jan and Corjay, fluent English speakers, obviously. This is actually a team that APA can communicate with. And I thought he looked really good on the Azir. I'm also kind of hedging my bets in that, I don't think FlyQuest is going to have an undefeated 14-0 split. There are going to be some losses that come certain places. We're not going to go 2-0 every week. If there's ever a match to lose, I think versus Team Liquid is probably the most likely one. They're a very good team. Impact is a very good player. Umpty has impressed me so far. I've not, really seen anything negative from him. Jan looks good. I think he actually looks pretty good. Core JJ I thought their bot lane did really well against 100 Thieves, and I thought the bot lane did even better against Shopify Rebellion. So I'm feeling Team Liquid in this one. Again, I will say, I do think it's like a 60-40. This time the 60 is Team Liquid. But that's just kind of where I'm sitting on it. And I know you guys have thoughts, so have at it.
Fair. I think for me, I'm looking at, and granted, I have an extremely small sample size, right? But I think Team Liquid drafted horrendously this weekend. I do not think their drafts were good at all. And especially in the 100 Thieves game, I think that is the big reason why 100 Thieves was even able to pull off that win. Because look at that draft from Team Liquid and tell me, where is the damage? There is no damage on that team whatsoever. You have Udyr, Xin Zhao, Ziggs, Jhin, Ashe going into Riven by Yone, Seraphine, and Karma. Like, if you let the game get past like the 25-minute point, you are not getting through the Karma and Seraphine shields and healing. It's just not going to happen. And that's exactly what happened, right? 100 Thieves lasted just long enough to where they could start 5v5ing, and that they ended up losing the game because of it. The Shopify game, Jan and Core JJ were getting absolutely ran in the bot lane as Zeri Lulu. I don't know if that was just a bad meta read right now, like live patch, yada yada, trying to find something quirky to kind of like show up. But Wild Turtle and Zazel were absolutely running that bot lane against them, even though they were never able to quite pick up a kill. And so, like, I think in general, it was just kind of like, I don't know what they're doing. Because I think the Trundle counters the Udyr and the Poppy pretty hard too. It can really mess up the Azir as well as the Zeri if you do the proper timings. I think Shopify's draft was just so good. I just don't think they were able to execute, on top of the fact that Lucian Nami falls off so freaking hard after 20 minutes. And that's kind of why Team Liquid ended up getting him. So long story short, I think going into this weekend, if Team Liquid was drafting anything similar to what they did this past weekend, the draft difference should be too big. I think Fly should be able to draft whatever they need, and they should be able to find success because, I think in general, both top laners are going to be absolute hell terrors on both bot lanes, like across for each other. I think in general, Jensen versus APA, Jensen's just a better version of APA currently, even though APA has learned how to play Azir and whatnot. I think Inspired is still a better jungler than Umpty, even though Umpty is good. And then the bot lane probably is a little bit in favor of TL, if I'm being completely honest. But like even then, the TL bot lane's just been shaky. So in general, everything I'm seeing is this should be a FlyQuest win.
Now, see for me, the only potential equal matchup in this entire match will be top lane. Impact is really good, and he's stuck around the league for a long time for a reason. And Bwipo, you already know how I feel about Bwipo, and we just saw him this weekend, so we don't need to get into that. So we're going to table that. Top doesn't matter. It's going to be a flip-flop. Whoever wins, wins. I'm not impressed with Umpty at all. He's a very mad jungle for me. I did not see, like, River out-jungled him so hard in that 100 Thieves game, which is a major part of how TL lost. And then APA got gapped on his signature, which granted, Yone, once he gets level 3, should win that matchup 99% of the time. So, like, you can call it champ diff, draft diff, which you just called, but, you know, if he's losing to Quid, Jensen's got a new thing coming, you know? So Jensen's going to absolutely rock him. And I cannot wait for Massu to tear apart Jan and Core JJ. Like honestly, like our bot lane is just better. Like you see it in my power rankings. I have them above Jan and Core JJ because they're young, they're fresh, they seem to be in sync. And I just think we're going to be able to play to our strengths better in the bot lane. So it should be a FlyQuest win all day because we are just across the board better.
Yeah, I think that's all fair. Yeah, I think I'll just restate that I wasn't super impressed by NRG, and I think TL will regroup, and they'll kind of figure out some of their stuff, fix some of the issues that they had, and I'm more concerned about them than they are NRG. Again, I'm leaning these as like 60-40s.
Fair.
Oh yeah, I think both of these are way harder matchups than what Fly had this past week.
Oh yeah,
right? Like
definitely going to be more of a challenge.
Well, there's absolutely a world where FlyQuest can drop one or maybe even two matches this weekend. I would not be shocked by it. This
is the prove it week for me. This is the prove it week. Yeah. Prove you're good.
If either of these teams get the start that Shopify Rebellion had against us, we are not winning that game. Like we might be able to pull out something crazy, but I don't think we win a game set up like that against TL or NRG. I'd admit that.
Right. Yeah. Well, that is week 2. I'm the lone doubter.
It's all right. I need you to keep doubting so I can pull ahead in our competition of predictions.
It's true. That is true. Well, you know what? No one is doubting anymore. As we head back to our other view. FlyQuest Challengers.
Woo!
2-0 over Disguised. I didn't realize how weird the schedule was. I knew the schedule was weird for NACL. I didn't realize it was like this weird, Yeah,
it's wonky.
Like
it's real wonky.
Okay, cool. We played one best of 3. So did everyone else except for Lit Esports and Supernova. Next week, we'll play again. We're going to play Team Liquid Challengers, who lost 0-2 to Wildcard, by the way. But next week, Cincinnati Fear does not play, and neither does Area of Effect. So you're going to have some teams who have played 2 best of 3s, some who've only played 1. And then you're going to have like this weird week 3 where there's like a couple, like Mirage Alliance plays twice, Disguised plays twice. And just like you're going to have some weird records, before the end of the season. But the big thing here, 2-0 for FlyQuest Challenger over the team that a lot of folks thought was going to be, if not the number 1, the number 2 team in NACL, in Disguised. I think there were actually a lot of people who just outright said, yeah, it's Disguised and no one else is even close. I think some people thought, FlyQuest Challengers was going to be there in that like top 2, top 3 conversation, but this was a beatdown, especially in game 2. Quad, not to be confused with 100 Thieves Quid, Quad went crazy on the Azir in game 2. That boy popped off. It was disgusting. I was very impressed with him. I thought he made some really good plays on the Yone in game 1.
Oh my goodness, 15-2?
Yes. It wasn't a 1v9 because the rest of the team played well, but he like 1v5'd is what I would say, Nox, your thoughts on Fly C week 1 taking down Disguised? I'm very amped. This team looked good against supposedly the best team in NACL.
I mean, yeah, dude. So, what more can I say? Surdy and Shaden were both supposed to be LCS. Chime was literally in LCS. Like the 2 people on this squad that are not meant to be LCS are Quad and Sajid, right? And so And even then, Quad looked freaking insane in game 2, 15-2 as his year against young Zakali, who himself did not do too bad. He was 9-5-2, but the rest of the team was just kind of dying around him, right?
Yeah.
I think really I'm not. Okay, game 2, I was kind of surprised how hard of a beatdown it was, but well, actually, they're both kind of just solid wins for FlyQuest. Now that I'm looking at the scoreboard, yeah,
dude, if you look at
think
stats, you can tell these
really
were
good wins.
Yeah, these were just really, really good wins, right? I think what I'll be
died twice across both of them.
Yeah, I think what I'll be curious to see is if other teams kind of level up to give FlyQuest Challengers a challenge, if you will, because I mean, this guys was supposed to be the number 2 team. Well, if that ends up being that way or not, because I thought the other closest team would be Supernova, who play I think this coming week. I'm trying to remember my power rankings. I want it's either Supernova. Yeah, I think I have Supernova in 3rd, and then I think I have Team Liquid in 4th. Team Liquid lost, by the way. They lost 1-2, so clearly they're not quite up to snuff yet either. So I don't know, man. If they're beating down what I was expecting to be the number 2 team in the whole league, people have some work cut out for them. You gotta start catching up real quick. And I actually want people to start catching up real quick, right? Because it's like Surdy, Shaden, and Chime all deserve to be in LCS. They don't need the development time. I want to see Sajid and Quad getting pushed. I want to see them getting limit tested. I want to see them actually learning and developing, right? And if you're sitting them in a league where like people aren't able to do that, then it's like, what's the point? Yeah. So I hope people actually do get better. We start getting challenged a little bit, because if this is the number 2 team and the wins are looking like this, oh man, I hope the international tournament that's been announced, whenever that is and wherever that is, I hope that comes up, because I want to see these guys get some challenges from at least some international players that are hopefully decent.
Yeah, I would agree. Curly, any additional
Quad
thoughts?
versus Faker incoming. I'm just really happy with this start, because taking on the defending champion org and being able to 2 them right off the start is a exciting way to go. Even if they've changed some parts, it's just real good start. And again, like the fact that Sajid only died once each match and has really good KDs with all that, you can tell that he was on it, and Chime is also on it. So if we found another, like, if we keep up this ADC like just snatching thing where we get the best one in our system, right. And we never let that go, that will make me happy.
That would be pretty
because
good.
I feel like that's a really good role in North America to have on lock.
Yeah, would agree. Looking ahead to the second week, Team Liquid Challengers, who lost to Wildcard 2-0. TL Challengers roster rundown. It's Jenkins, Keel, Romer, Spawn, and Kim Down. They lost to Wildcard, a team that I think it's Quacker, Winnie, Darkwings, Aaron, and Doxa. This is a team that I think
I have them ranked 5th.
Where did you have
I think they're solid.
Where did you have TL Challengers ranked?
I had them in 4th. So
yeah, I was going to say, like, it's not like a huge difference, but I would have like had TL as the like slight favorite in this one. So to see the 2-0 is kind of surprising. I feel confident about going into this matchup. Nox, how about you? What are you expecting to see here?
I mean, I did not get to watch the Team Liquid wildcard match, unfortunately, so I don't know what went wrong for Team Liquid or anything like that. Mm-hmm. I think in general, like looking at the roster, right? I would expect Spawn, who's been an LCS 80 carry. I know he had a really crap time on that Dignitas roster where they went like 0-9 or whatever it was. But I still think he was an LCS quality 80 carry, right? He has the potential to be there. Along with Keel, who I think is one of the best junglers in the league. And then Kim Down, who's been very quickly developing. Like, I think this should be a solid squad. My main question marks are Romer and Jenkins. In which case, you have Quad, who, like, Romer should be, like, right there with him in terms of, like, quality check, right? Mm-hmm. And then you have Jenkins versus Surdy, which, if I'm being really honest, Surdy should just run his butt. Like, just straight up. Sorry. This should be another 2-0 for FlyQuest, if I'm being completely honest. I'm expecting Sajid to be pushed a little bit by Spawn. Hopefully, maybe he learns a couple things in the lane. I do think Chime is a far better support though, so maybe Chime doesn't let that happen. Yeah, I think in general, like FlyQuest just edges out power wise against Team Liquid in pretty much most aspects. Like outside of the AD carry position, that's about the only spot where they don't. In which case, Chime should more than enough cover for that. So I'm gonna just go ahead and say it should be a 2-0 for FlyQuest. Go next.
Well, there it is. All right. Well, that match will be on Saturday. First matchup after LCS ends, Saturday the 27th, pending around 8 o'clock. So to be sure, 8 o'clock EST. So be sure to tune in for that matchup. All right. Last couple topics of the night. I know we started late and we're running long, so we'll try to get through these.
Quick advertisement for people watching live right now. Quad has joined Champions Queue for the first time as of right now, so keep an eye out for them.
There you go.
Speaking of Champions Queue, Inspired is playing mid right now. Against Massu and Busio.
Nice. You love to see it.
And Umti and APA are on Massu and Busio's team, so
perfect. All right, jersey announcement. The jersey is out.
It's beautiful.
Let me swap over to try and get a picture mode. Of the jersey up real quick. I'll go to.
You should get the Bwipo one.
Sure. I'll get get the Bwipo. Well, does the Bwipo one have? Can you actually see the jersey in it?
Yeah, you can see everything but the collar because he wore a bigger one, which I think is kind of hilarious.
All right, hang on.
Or honestly, you can just get the main graphic from the main page.
Now I'm pulling it up.
Dun, dun, da, da. Dun, dun, da, da.
Oh, here we go. Yes.
Yes,
let's.
Please don't sue me. Prices right. Thank you.
Yeah, that would not be. That would not go well. Boom. Ooh, that is not great.
And we lost Sandy. Goodbye.
Oh boy, this is a really big screen. That's what happens when your monitor is like 3,000 by.
What 2, is your resolution, bro?
It's a very high resolution. All right, here's that jersey in live with a nice picture of Bwipo on the side.
Beautiful.
Don't worry, LCS Spring did start in time. All right, so we got this kind of like wavy title of the team. You can't see it, but there is a MasterCard logo on the right side as well. And then you can't really see it in this shot, but there's like a little bit of a collar going on underneath Bwipo's collar. Maybe I could find another shot of the jersey. Actually, here we go. Yeah, this'll
that's a real good one. That's comprehensive.
Yeah, here we go. So you can see this this collar up top. You got the holographic silicone transfers, and then the sleeves also have a little cuff to them as well. And actually, looking at this picture, you can see a lot of detail going on the
So
a lot of like
I think you should pull up the main like front shop page one, like where it's just a uniform look, because something you can't see in this graphic as well is those patterns are actually stripes, and it gives me big like football, like soccer jersey vibes, which I'm a huge fan of.
All right, well, you can see my mouse in the screen as
that was something I was describing it as when I first saw this jersey. It was like I get extremely big like 1990 like soccer jersey vibes.
Yeah,
I told my roommate, I'm like, it looks like the Argentina World Cup jerseys, just with green instead of blue and white, and like, hey, let's just make it not copyrighted. And I'm like, I think that's pretty cool.
It's interesting to me that on this page it says Atmos jersey, and then when I click on the product link, it calls it the Aurora jersey. So which is it, FlyQuest? Fess up. Is it the Atmos jersey or the Aurora jersey? The site is taking a hot minute to load. All right, here we go.
The Aurora Atmos jersey.
This might be our best shot. And then, of course, as soon as I click it,
Yeah, your buffer times, man.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm running a stream, but
I don't know about that. That's a crazy concept.
That's wild.
I think in general. So I guess while Sandy's working on pulling it up, what are our general thoughts on what do we rank this jersey?
So it's funny, really, because this is like the last two World songs for me where it had to grow up. Like initial viewership, I was off put because it's different than what I expect when I think FlyQuest. And I wasn't sure about it at first. And then the more I looked at it and the more pictures I saw and the more I saw how you can wear it as something really fashionable, I'm like, this is amazing. Because it's really versatile. And it's, I think, normally I'm not a fan of collars in esports. I think it's one of the only jerseys that's gotten the collar right and been able to blend it all together.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny you say that.
I like the collar a lot. I will have to say, I like the collar. I didn't think I liked it at first. Upon dwelling on it a little bit and seeing it on people, I like the collar.
Yeah.
So it's funny that you both say that you like the collar, because my thoughts on the collar are, I feel like it's a halfway thing. Like, I think they should have made the collar either bigger and really made it like protrude more and made more prominent, or they should have just gotten rid of it altogether. That's kind of like, I feel like they just didn't commit. So I'm not a fan of the color. Yeah, it's just half. I wish it was either more, or I wish it was just gone altogether and it was just a normal like V-neck kind of. So that's kind of my thoughts.
I would say more because you almost never see these kinds of esports jerseys with like something distinctive like this, and I think it does set it apart a little bit. So I
do like how unique it is. It's extremely unique.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I respect taking the chance on it.
Yeah. It's like definitely in that like 7.5 to 9 out of 10 range for me. If I had to think, like, this jersey that I'm wearing right now is probably one of my all-timers.
Yeah, that one is
summer jersey
pretty
from
good
last
banger,
year,
I think.
and then there's a couple others that are like really good.
But I really like this one that I'm wearing because it's another one that I feel like I can wear out casually.
Yeah, but
it's a jersey, but it's also just a shirt.
I do like this, and it doesn't really feel too much like a sports jersey. It does feel more like a piece of clothing, which I like. And it's always difficult to find pieces like that in the esports world. Usually you have to like go for like a hoodie, or something like that to
Hoodie Org 2.0.
Yeah, hoodie. Yeah, do some hoodies.
So now, not to mess with you now, Sandy, but you should show the red one that was dropped earlier today.
You know what, Mr. Knoxwar, you read, haha. Speaking of which, you read my mind. I think the best way we can show this is I'm actually going to pull up.
Look at the QR. Yeah,
I'm going to pull up Dodo Nuts thing here. So yeah, you can. Man, maybe I should pull up.
You can go on the Discord, go to the FlyQuest announcement page, and I think let me double check.
Okay, this is actually a good shot here because you can really see.
That is amazing. Numi is also saying Thea's is great to look at because you get the full.
Perfect. Let's get Thea's in here. Oh yeah. Okay, yeah. This is a good shot of it. Yeah, the collar is cool. You still get like the floral design going on and everything. The holographic really stands out. I just noticed this. I don't know if this is new. Maybe somebody can confirm in the chat for us. Powered by Logitech. The Logitech logo on the sleeve. Is this new for Fly Red? Is this new for FlyQuest in general? Is Logitech
Logitech has sponsored Red in the past.
Is that what it is?
I think I remember that.
Maybe that's what
I think Red has a previous sponsorship with
Interesting. I'd be very interested to see if Logitech would ever sponsor the full
Alternatively, it could be that Game Changers might have. Oh yeah, all right. Numi says Valorant Team has always been sponsored by Logitech. So yeah.
Okay. So that's what it is. Valorant team confirmed more sponsors than the LCS team.
So I guess now that we're on the red one, though,
yes.
I don't know how you guys feel, but personally for me, I think upon seeing the red one, I like the red one even more. I think the holographic, like, it doesn't necessarily pop more, but I think it blends in better than the green. Yes. And I like the fact that the color is full on red and white, whereas on the green one, it's black and white. And so I think it's just more streamlined for me, and that's why I like it a little more than the green one.
Right. The only thing I will say is if you get this jersey, do not go to Target. You will be asked. You will be asked for help by every single person in that Target. That's the only thing I can say. I'm sorry. I cannot unsee this. It is totally fine to wear this in literally any other. Oh, hang on, one other. Don't wear this in a Staples either. So Staples and Target cannot go into those stores wearing this jersey. Oh, Numi mentions Office Depot. No. Office Depot is also out of bounds for this jersey. Any other place on planet Earth, hell, you can go to the International Space Station and wear this jersey. Go to the moon, you might blend into Mars. Any of those places, it's fine. Just not Staples, Office Depot, or Target.
Oh my goodness.
The worst part is that, like, actually, like, in this shot specifically, you can see, like, the G of the Logitech does start to look like the Target logo a little bit.
Sandy, I need you to stop.
You're about to ruin it for a whole bunch of people right now, Sandy.
So, but no, I do think this is a great jersey. I'm really, I would definitely, I would definitely snag one of these. I think it's a great variant, and I really like that we are continuing to do variants on the main jersey with the red team.
No, I love that. I love the different takes on it.
Yeah,
for sure.
I think it's a lot of fun to have different takes, and it doesn't, it sets them apart. It makes them unique. It says to me, hey, we don't see this as just like, oh, it's another branch of FlyQuest. Woo. No, it's like, this is a valued part of the organization that we care about enough, like incredibly so, to give them their own jersey. Yeah, so that is really cool to me.
And actually, you know what? Numi raises a point. We should shout her out a little bit. Carlybot on Twitter, and she snuck into. I don't know if you two saw this, but she snuck into our Discord a couple of days ago too.
Yes.
But she is the designer, and I'll try and remember to link her Twitter in the YouTube description when we upload this later. But she's been the designer for this jersey, and I think she kind of killed it on it.
Yeah,
I agree. I wholeheartedly agree. Get my thoughts on it real quick. Like I really like the red variant because I like having the variants too. And then I think from taking 1 year of art classes and all that stuff, the red on red would have looked so much better than the black and white on the red. And that's why you like it so much, because otherwise we have Jollibee Jersey 2.0. Because we saw what happened last year when 100 Thieves did that. So it's real good.
Out of curiosity, let me hear your thoughts on this. What would you guys think of having a third take on the jersey for the fighting game section of FlyQuest? So like currently you have like Fly Red for like Valorant and CS, and then you have the green one for League of Legends teams. I think it'd be cool, and I don't know how much extra work it would take, but like if there was a third version available for like the fighting game community, kind of like how Cloud9 had the different versions of their Cloud jersey that Fiend made. Like it was like the all dark one for Valorant, it was the light blue one for League. And they're like all sorts of different ones, or actually it was a purple one for Valorant, actually, now that I think about it. But that's my point. I think it'd be cool to have like different versions for the different divisions of Fly.
Yeah, I agree.
Like the fighting games purple or blue.
Yeah, I was gonna say like a nice blue would be perfect.
That way we have RGB.
That way we have RGB.
And then we have the red.
That way we have RGB.
That way we have RGB.
You're
perfect.
Dang, that's actually perfect. RGB.
Actually, that'd be perfect. All right, Numi, Carly, if you're listening, you heard it here first.
Blue
you can
variant.
take
If
it.
you guys
Run with
use
it.
this design,
You have a
I
blessing.
ask that you have Papa Smithy Venmo me $5. Thank you very much.
$5. Hey, that's enough for. It's enough for
A McChicken nowadays.
Yeah, maybe 2 McChickens. Or
if they're on sale, if they're doing a deal, maybe
a McChicken and a half. Hey, let's talk really quick about FlyQuest Red. So a restructuring of the roster. The only returning player is actually going to be Dodo Nut, seen here in the shot. She is returning. Everyone else is gone. So the new team is going to be her, Lace, Thea, Starbound, and Sonder. So Starbound and Sonder both came from... Starbound and Thea both came from Evil Geniuses Game Changers. And that team did make it to GC23 Champions. Lace came from Complexity, their Game Changers team, who did compete and actually beat FlyQuest Red in Game Changers 3 last season. And then finally, let me find them. The last player, who I literally just named, but now I can't remember. Lace, I believe, was on Shopify. No, she was on Complexity. Who was on? Sonder was on Shopify Rebellion. Which Shopify Rebellion also was a pretty good team. Did do decently at Game Changers Series 3 and NA. So really, like, the really good parts from a bunch of Game Changers teams have now been brought together onto this Fly Red team. And I'm really excited to see what they do. I don't know if the if Game Changers, like, the start date has been announced.
I believe Numi said earlier that they start playing tomorrow.
This is Lace, by the way.
I'm not sure.
Here's Thea, as we've already seen. Do they start playing tomorrow? That would be brand new news to me.
We start playing tomorrow, so...
We start tomorrow. Here's Sonder. And then here is Starbound for you all. So these are your brand new 5 players on FlyQuest Red. There's a nice video put out here. I won't play it because you can't really hear the sound. You can see Mark Urbino down there, really excited with SpongeBob and what's not. But this is a great video that you should check out. Fly Red starting off tomorrow, apparently, in Game Changers. So that is super duper exciting. We will be sure to relay all the good info as to what's going on, and we'll get some retweets as to when Game Changers actually starts time-wise and everything.
Another fun fact about this FlyQuest Red roster is that DeMonte will also be working with them, as is the uniqueness of his position at FlyQuest. He's not just involved with the league team.
Nice. That is pretty sick. Yeah, VLR.gg has nothing about Game Changers events whatsoever at all, so I cannot tell you any information. Numi says she'll put the schedule in Discord and post it on Twitter, so be sure to check the FlyQuest Twitter or the FlyQuest Red Twitter for any of that important info. All right, well, that was a whole lot of info. I forgot to change the title from Jersey Announcement to FlyQuest Red. But that's your new team, so be sure to give them a cheer as they take on Game Changers. That is all we have time for today. Long show, lot to talk about, but we're back to it, getting into that rhythm once again. Curly Knox, one of you, what are your final notes, shout-outs, plugs, etc., before we wrap up the evening?
I'd say overall exciting start to the 2024 season of esports across the board. Killing it in the LCS and NACL. It's a real fun way to start. And then excited to see what happens with this new Valorant roster. So yeah, like FlyQuest is doing really good things.
Absolutely. Knox, how about you?
Solid start to the season. Solid jerseys making an appearance. Big things are happening. It's just been a solid start to the year so far, honestly, and I'm looking forward to see where things go from here. I think we're just on a good track, and I'm enjoying esports. It's glad to have things back and up and running again.
Enjoying esports. That's the theme of the week. Well, thank you everyone for tuning into another great episode of Flight Check. LCS Week 2 keeps rolling on, as does NACL Week 2. We've got TL and NRG Saturday and Sunday, as well as FlyQuest Challengers taking on Team Liquid Challengers. FlyQuest Red should be playing some ESEA advanced matches this week, as well as Valorant matches. I don't think there's any big fighting games stuff coming up soon, but we'll be sure to loop you in if there is. So if you want to see that, you got to follow us on Twitter for all of our instant reactions and thoughts. You can catch the show at Flight Check Crew, myself at SantosDB, Knox at Knoxwar with 2 R's, and Curly at Curly_QQ_. Make sure to hop into the Flight Check Discord as well. All kinds of esports discussion and otherwise taking place in there. And if you missed any part of this episode, the VOD will be up on YouTube tonight or tomorrow morning, with audio coming up later this week. If you're watching that or listening and would like to catch the show live, we broadcast the episode usually every Monday night, usually at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, right here at twitch.tv/FlightCheckCrew. Knox, any shout-outs before we wrap up?
Shout out to my non-working camera. I will have you fixed next week. I swear to God.
Perfect. Curly, how about you? Any shout-outs?
Not a shout-out as much of a in memoriam. Put a rest in peace on the Bills season. May the wind in the future always be still at any Bills playoffs game, so that we can make a field goal when it matters, instead of hearing those cursed 2 words.
Right.
And also, shout out to Taylor Swift and Jason Kelce for being the most insane. Like, Jason Kelce, that is a hype man. That is a man you want on your squad.
It's true.
Oh my gosh. So shout out to them for being really, really supportive of Travis.
It's very true.
In his win, against the Bills. And I hope they win the conference, just so I can say that we're at least 3rd place.
Yeah. As for myself, shout out to, unfortunately, I want to plug all the 530 or so rioters who literally in the last 2 hours found out that they no longer have jobs. Our hearts are with you. It's a tough time. Please repost any job opportunities for these folks. Repost their portfolios, things like that. Make sure to get them some new employment. Riot's giving them some very nice severance packages, so these folks are not in desperate need right away. But they will need work eventually. And just hope that the industry kind of kicks back into gear. It's doing some self-correcting right now. But we'll find our way through. And games will always be there. They're never going away. So, on that note, we will be back next week to discuss Week 2 of LCS, Week 2 of NACL, and all the great Fly Red stuff going on. So for now, please stay safe out there. Don't forget to hit the head on the nail. And we'll see you all very, very soon. Adios, everybody.
Have a good one, guys.
Peace, y'all.